Stu from the CCS crew here. We're here at beautiful Camp Carter YMCA in Fort Worth, Texas, and I am joined here by the man behind not just King of the Sticks in Tulsa, but also the architect of the Heartland TKO circuit in of itself, the one and only Rashard of Game Over HD TV. Thanks for joining us, man.
Architect is crazy, but it sounds good here now.
It's kind of true. I mean, this was your brainchild, the Heartland TKO circuit, and when you were pushing it out, I feel like it took a lot of us by surprise, but in a way that was very welcome. Like, we were kind of waiting for a reason to unite the Midwest under some kind of umbrella. I mean, how has this experience been so far for you?
It's been pretty good, and it's been something that was in the making for a long time. You know, me and Ricky talked about this way back in Ricky with HXC.
Right, yeah. Super Bit Wars.
Yeah, Super Bit Wars out of Oklahoma. We were talking about this like 2016, 17, and could never really get the TOs to function together. And I think when we were making some tread in the water, COVID happened. But when we came back, I was like real dedicated to pushing this to go forward. Had plenty of discussions with Chris with War Guts, BG with Combat. I really wanted to make this happen. And a lot of this was getting organizations together, and I think they were still like fishing for answers, not quite sure if they wanted to get into it. And I kicked everybody in the deep end. we're running with it, paid to get a video drop. Once you start putting pen to paper, people start believing this stuff, and that's how we push forward this time and get off the ground.
It is so wild because it felt like it dropped just, on some Tuesday night, and then the amount of traction that it got from there, like, people really started talking about it, started getting excited. And maybe it's just because, I don't know, it must have been a slow Tuesday, but also at the same time, this is the sort of thing, as you mentioned, there was an appetite for this. People were waiting for it, and obviously you felt like there was something there, where people were ready to go. And in terms of the rest of the tournaments, obviously you have a very close relationship with Ricky up in HXC over in Oklahoma City, and of course your relationship with BG here at Combat Championship Series. You felt that there was something that was ready to be pushed out and brought forward to the world, and now that it's out here, kind of feels like there really is something there. I mean, say what you will about the events in terms of space being so close together, because of the Midwest, it's not.
Right, Midwest.
But you're still uniting them, and that's something.
Southwest, we really don't even know what to call this region, to be honest with you.
Heartland seems fitting, though.
I went straight to the computer. I said, what do these states have in common? I think that's where we got the Heartland from, with the cattle roaming and everything. But the idea of this even came together because the East Coast has their thing, the West Coast has their things. There's some stuff in the South, but not really anything for our area. It's like a wasteland or a waste zone, but we have players out here, and we have decent
flyover country, as it were.
Right. Yeah. We have decent players that go and get results at some of these bigger events on the East Coast, West Coast, getting out of the second round of EVO, stuff like that. So we just wanted to bring more light to the players in our backyard and kind of promote them and push them forward.
And maybe it's a little bit different for the DFW area because we have such a concentrated population center, but at the same time, I feel like there is so much that's being built, not just in Tulsa, obviously, with War Guts. If you have not seen that operation, folks, you are missing out. But also what you've been able to build with Game Over HD TV, because you were talking about King of the Sticks. We were talking about this off camera. Sorry to bring that up on camera, but I mean, this is, as you mentioned, coming up in November, I believe it is, the next iteration of King of the Sticks 2025. And it was under a different name before. You're talking about the regionalism, the Southwest Championship. Mm-hmm. What is it now that you have King of the Sticks basically as the Oklahoma State Championships, but have you learned anything in context of trying to run this big regional thing that has allowed you to grow as an individual tournament organizer?
I wouldn't say anything I learned, but a problem that we have is we get more participation from players outside the state than inside the state. People are willing to travel 4 and 5 hours down the road.
Oh no, how horrible.
Right. People are willing to travel 4 and 5 hours down the road, but we have trouble getting people to come 45 minutes down the road, coming from Oklahoma City to Tulsa because there's a tollway and stuff like that. But regardless, everything that happened COVID related, our growth has been steady and we've been growing. and I love the direction it's going in. And we're getting a good slate of games coming out, you know, the diverse games, Fatal Fury and the other good games. I didn't think Guilty Gear was going to last as long as it did. And you know what I'm saying? It used to, before that, before COVID, it was just like Tekken and Street Fighter, and everything else was just the garnish to the main dish.
Right.
But we're starting to get newer games that, I mean, they're older titles, but they're coming back out, and they're staying. The longevity was helping out the scene. You know, even DBZ before it slowed down, you know.
Yeah.
And before they released the 30th Goku, you know, it was hanging steady with everything.
We don't need to get into the specifics of it, but you're absolutely right. Like, you're talking about how there was kind of an amuse-bouche before the main course, and now it really seems like that's upon us, especially with King of the Sticks coming about in November. I believe that you came here today, though, with a specific date in mind. Can you tell us a little bit about King of the Sticks 2025?
Yeah, we're locked in for November 7th through the 9th. That's Friday through Sunday. Now, it's a 3-day event, but like always, if a tournament starts on the day, it ends on the same day, and the next day is going to be different tournaments. And also, Friday is going to be like team tournaments, training for high schoolers, you know, setup, badge pickup. All the main tournaments will start on Saturday.
Gotcha. It's funny because it seems like you have an eye on everything that's kind of happening, not just in the esports, in FGC, but in esports as well, where you're seeing that, you know, there's a lot of momentum in collegiate or, you know, scholastic esports.
Right.
And, you know, the fighting game scene, not just for high school, for college, what have you. And it seems like you're kind of maybe taking a little bit of that, and I would imagine that there is a little bit of a focus on, because you mentioned like teams on Friday. Did that ever come to mind, like seeing how there is this sort of team aspect in FGC that seems to be funded over, like, you know, some of the individual events?
Yeah, I think the team aspect, it's a different, you know, take on just going head to head with your opponent. It takes a little bit more strategy, especially if you do like random picks and then it's like Pokemon head to head type deal.
There is a metagame to it, yeah.
Most definitely. And then that also brings camaraderie between states, because we like go state versus state, like Oklahoma versus Kansas, Texas versus Arkansas, things like that. And then that'll get people to come in earlier, you know what I'm saying, get some games in and just utilize that day, because we're already going to be set up by Thursday, you know, Friday. We just want to get the camera working and also help us tune up for Saturday.
And I would imagine that focus on camaraderie has a little bit to do with your background as well, because you do have not just, you know, what you're building with Game Over HD TV alongside War Guts, you know, with King of the Sticks, and it's being hosted at their facility.
Right.
I mean, but also the fact that you are so close with Ricky and HXC Gaming. It's almost like you're gaming dad, really, over in Oklahoma City. The fact that you have that your hand in both of those scenes, I would imagine has kind of come to emphasize the importance of being able to work together and collaborate and really unite the Sooner State under one banner. So what can you say in your experience has been the most fruitful thing to come of that? Because I understand Tulsa and OKC, it's not like, it's maybe a friendly rivalry, but maybe not as friendly as we would like.
Right, it's not as bad as it used to be. I think it's everybody, especially with the age of the internet, how good, you know, the net is. It's not as much as a rivalry anymore, as far as everybody trying to level up as Oklahoma to go either defend the soil or go take over somebody else's area. But it's just
You're
my whole
part
life.
of that, though.
You know, just my whole life playing sports since 3rd grade, football, basketball, joining a fraternity in college. I always been about, you know, teamwork, coming together, building something, finding everybody who's good at what they do. Instead of trying to do it all by yourself, find out who's good at what and let them shine in that area. I think that's what brought Oklahoma together. And I know, you know, it's dramas in every scene in every state.
If there's people, there's drama.
I mean, even between me, Chris, and Ricky, we fuss and cuss. It's like family members. You come together, you know, you put on a united front, but there's fussing and cussing. But it takes that to, like, you know, build, as you said, empire, and try to build a scene up. If there's no drama, you know what I'm saying, I don't even think, you know, you have your heart into it. Because when people are putting their passion, their heart behind something, you go butt heads. But it's like what you do after that. How do you come together, common ground, build and push forward? Like when I'm organizing something to put something together, I love a person who's gonna poke holes in my plans so I can like look at it from a different angle, point of view, and make it better, make it stronger, have a better foundation.
It's a car you built. You do need someone to kick the tires. It's a necessary evil. But final question for you. I mean, you've been able to build something, again, just a little bit greater than what you had before with King of the Sticks. And now you're on the way to doing that with Heartland TKO, with the entire American Midwest, getting Kansas City and Wichita, obviously activating DFW with 2 different events. What do you feel, what is your hope for this event as it goes forward into the future? What's your hope for the American Midwest as a region in the FGC?
Just having us intermingle, you know what I'm saying, as far as, you know, we have the winners of certain events move on to the next event in hopes they're coming with their friends or family to come enjoy the next event. I think the winners from King of the Sticks 2024 had got afforded the opportunity to go to Denver. And none of them been to Denver into that tournament before and seen how dope their scene was. So it's like bringing enlightenment to just us to travel amongst ourselves. Because, you know, I know people who don't go to nothing local, but they're at Evo every year.
You know, Brian has that same discussion with me as well.
Saying? We're going to go O2 in brackets. We're going to spend money at the vendors, with the vendors, and that's it. But we still need help back at home growing what we got going and pushing forward there.
It ain't grassroots esports without grassroots. Rashard, quite the gardener in that respect. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
I already know.